Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Be sure to check me out over on Rumble. There you'll find all of my stuff from YouTube, plus my political and social commentary and weekly current events, which YouTube frowns on. Links to my Rumble channel as well as my other YouTube channels and links to let you order my books are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I welcome your comments even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an alien abduction video, but it's not really about a specific abduction. I'm titling this one for your consideration because lately I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that I talk to, not online, but in person, about, oh yeah, all those alien abductees, they're all kooks, they're all crazy, you know. So I'm going into this one. Here we go. Many people think that alien abductees are all hoaxers and or kooks, and I cannot tell you how much I disagree with that assessment. I'm not going to go so far as to say that I believe every claim of alien abductions. You know, to be sure that there are tons of crazy people out there, and I dare say a good many of these claimants are hoaxers. The fact that some people are crazy and some people are hoaxers does not diminish the fact that some of these abduction claims are just too real to ignore. As a matter of fact, I did a video a long time ago when I first started this alien category on my channel. I did a video called UFOs Evidently, and in that video, I talked about the end of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall came down and information started coming from behind the Iron Curtain. Turns out the Soviets and their Eastern Bloc countries were investigating UFOs and had UFO abductee stories just the same as we did. If it's a hoax, if it's a real hoax, then that's a hell of a thing to hoax. I'm just saying. Go watch that video. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into it all here, but you understand what I'm talking about. I want to talk about something. I found an article the other day. There's a website called Nova, and they do all kinds of stuff. They put out the case files of Bud Hopkins. He's a legendary ufologist who investigated UFO cases. And Bud Hopkins is a legend, a real legend in the UFO community. This guy was a pioneer in research in this phenomenon. So, you know, at least listen to what he says. But before we get into that, I found some information on that website that I want to get into. But before we get into that, let me set it up for you here, okay? A little bit of context. If you're not a parent, imagine that you are. Or if you have a very young sibling, brother, sister, or if you babysit children, if you're a young person and you babysit children, imagine that the child is very young and is scared to death, refuses to go to sleep. When you ask why, the child explains that the little people are coming to hurt them. Their little people are going to come and hurt them. You ask further questions and the child shows you marks on their body that make no sense. How would that make you feel? As a parent, I can tell you that if my son had this type of experience, it would scare the piss out of me. And I'd be setting up an ambush for Mr. E.T. We'd have definitive proof in the form of a freaking corpse. Let me tell you, Mr. E.T. would not get away. He would not get away with it. Now, I realize that many of you might scoff at that, but let me read you an excerpt from these Nova case files of Bud Hopkins, the legendary ufologist who investigated abduction cases. All right, here we go. I'm reading this verbatim. There's a letter, a woman writing about her child. She was so concerned. Her daughter's 3 years old. When she was putting her daughter to bed, the little girl cried and said, "I want to hide." And the woman asked why. And she said, "I'm hiding because the little people are going to get me." This really frightened the mother, and she asked what happened with the little people. In the letter, she writes, the mother wrote, she told me they come into her room, take her outside, that they have big eyes, and that she went up into the sky with the man. I asked what happened up there, and she said they took me to see the doctor. The next day, the woman she saw on a television program, her mother was sitting there, a cover of a book about abductions with a face of an alien. The little girl jumped to her knees, pointed at the TV, shouting, "That's them, Mommy, the people." She covered her eyes and said, "I'm scared, Mommy. I've never seen such fear in Nicole before." Within that same week, she drew many faces with only very large, dark eyes. I also noticed at the time, while undressing her, 3 tiny raised pin-like marks near her navel and the same under her left nostril. The same day, she also had a pretty bad nosebleed. Since this all occurred, every now and then she mentions other things such as, "They take my jammies off, they hurt me," etc. I realize you receive many letters of this kind, some of which are phony, but believe me, this is not made up. If this is all really happening to my little girl, please give me some advice as to how to help her deal with these visitations. I know you're a very busy man, but please perhaps a short response to my letter may ease my anxiety a little. Mr. Hopkins, could this really be true? Thank you. Sincerely, blah, blah, blah. There's no way that one can read these letters without responding. And this idea that something like that is made up by a publicity seeker or whatever, as skeptics like to say, is just absolutely absurd. I have worked with some of these people afterwards, referred them to other investigators, and I think we've brought some relief for them in helping them explore what really did happen in their lives. Now that's the excerpt that I read. And if you're a parent, that just grabs you by the heart. And I tell you something, she didn't go to the newspapers for publicity. She didn't go to, as a matter of fact, her name and most of this stuff is redacted. She didn't go to the newspaper. She didn't go find a magazine or she didn't go public with it. She wrote to an investigator. She's not seeking publicity. Okay? This excerpt is online with many others. Check them out for yourself. Put yourself in that mother's place. What would you do? I'm not suggesting that you take every alien abduction story at face value. What I'm saying is that there are a great many of these stories which have been thoroughly investigated by competent and knowledgeable researchers. I talk about a great many such cases on my channel. Go check them out. I have multiple channels. Check them out. And if I may, a gentle reminder of why I started talking about UFO and alien abduction cases in the first place. The U.S. Navy and then later the U.S. government announced that UFOs, now called UAPs, are real and that their pilots had encountered them. Congress is having hearings on the subject. Is it too much of a reach to assume that the pilots of those craft are studying us? We study primates. We study all kinds of different animals. Maybe we're the animals to these aliens. That's all I'm saying. And if you're doing field research, you collect study. You collect samples. You collect specimens. Maybe that's what these beings are doing. Again, I'm not saying take it all seriously. Not every case seriously, but there's got to be something to it. How many alien abductee cases are there around the world? If it's a hoax, that's a big fucking hoax. It's all around the world, and it's been going on for centuries. I'm just saying. I hope this gives you something to think about, all right? I hope this finds everybody well. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all. We elect cookie-cutter politicians every single election cycle. Yes men who maintain the status quo and do just enough to make us believe the system still works. Imagine, if you will, a president who actually tries to fix things. If you like action, political intrigue, and a righteous crusade, check out my political thriller, The Righteous President.